Happy Monday. Wow. I hope all of you dads had a wonderful Father's Day and many blessings to you. Yesterday I spent time with naturally my husband and we went to my aunt's house because my son spent the weekend with my aunt and my brother's also here. So we got to, spend a little time with family. My mother will be here next week to retrieve my son, but also to see me to be there when I have my fourth surgery to try again to get a working port so they can remove the one in my chest. This thing here. If you see, these are what connects to the machine so that they can filter out my blood. So the reason they want this out because it's a high risk of an infection and where it's located, which is this tube that goes down into my main one of my main arteries that leads to my heart. They don't want an infection and then it traveled to my heart, and of course. But what I can say is we want to risk even walking out the door. So you have to trust God for everything. So I'm blessed because they don't want you to have this over, I think it's 90 days. I'm over 90 days because we have tried on 3 times to get a working port, and so far it hasn't been too successful. My first one is, I don't know if you see that. It's hard to turn my wrist like that, but my first one is on my wrist. My second one is towards the crease of my arm. My third one is right above that and then up under my armpit. It has been a challenge. I'm not going to lie to you and say. It hasn't been a struggle. It has. It is. Unfortunately, all these surgeries have caused me some issues with my arm now. I've suffered some nerve damage. And so I've, my arm has some struggles. But there is nothing too big for God. Nothing. And I'm not going to tell you a lie and say that I'm not scared for the fourth surgery because I'm left-handed and they're going to go in my left arm. And from the issues I've had with my right arm, I'm a little nervous because I don't want them to mess up and it causes me issues in my left. Because where they're going to start off is where my arteries to my arm branch off at, which is where my shoulder. So, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I want to work and I can't. I want to live life like I want to. And right now, I just have to be still. And it's hard. It's hard. I commend my husband on being so supportive because not everybody has that. They don't. He has really, really been so wonderful. I mean, having to take days off of work because it's not just the surgeries, it's the doctor visits. Sometimes I have issues where my memory is affected, and that's due to such toxic levels going into my brain. So I have to see a neurologist about that. I mean, I've seen one, and due to that, I've ended up with white lesions on my brain. Now, thank God I don't have any dementia or anything of that nature, but it has caused me some issues. And it's just some days it's overwhelming, but every day I'm grateful. I'm thankful for what God has done, what He is doing, and what He is going to do. I would not make it without my faith. I would not make it without my trust in God. I would not. I can be honest with you and tell you that. Um, in my 35 years of living, I've battled illness for 28 of those years. And it has not been easy. I mean, even down to the wanting to have a big family and couldn't. It even determined my ability to have multiple children. I'm grateful to God that He let me have the one I have now. I was never supposed to have children. Never. I almost had a stroke with the one I have. That was a pregnancy where I was in a hospital a few times. And it was many doctor visits. And, like some people, they go to the doctor every few weeks. No, I was going to the doctor multiple times a week. And I'm blessed because not only did God allow me to have my son, but he is my rainbow baby. My baby after the babies I lost. So the fact that I even was able to have 3 children was a miracle. I always refer to Xavier as the one that God let me keep. And I'm not, in the way I say that, it doesn't mean that God just, poof, I took away your children. No, that's not it. It's just they were not meant to be with me here on earth. Say it that way. They served a purpose. That they did. It taught me a powerful lesson about how good God is, how loving God is. Because those babies, I had them at almost 21 weeks when I had to have a C-section, and they had to take them, and no chance of survival. They were too severely underweight, and I was very sick while I was pregnant with them. But babies that young and no time for pretty much no lung function, they lived an hour, which that on its own is a pure miracle. Only God can do something like that. And it was not machines, because they had no machines. They had no machines. And then God was so merciful, He took them both at the same time, while one held on to the other. So into this world they came, and into God's arms they went at the same time. So, but with this particular journey, I'm older, and it reminds me of when I was first sick as a child. I start to remember a lot of this. And I guess as time goes on, you put things out of your mind. And when I was little and being sick a lot, I put a lot of that behind me. And being sick now has caused me to remember a lot of it. And the constant doctors and the sticking, and aggravating at times. But, God never fails. So, you have to keep your mind stayed on Jesus. And know that none of this is ever in vain. And that's what I know. So I go through it. I continue to go through it. So I will continue to share my journey with you. And I hope that my story is a blessing to you. To keep the faith. And yes, it gets hard. It can get hard as hell. And I ain't got no better way to say that. But you must keep the faith. Even when you feel like your whole world is falling apart around you. You got to keep the faith. And if you feel like you got to cry, well, baby, let it out. Let it out. If you've got to scream, find somewhere and just scream. It's okay. It's okay. But know one thing, that there's nothing that you go through on this earth that God does not know. He knows all of it. And know that, in me telling you that, know that you never walk alone. No matter what goes on in your life, you're never alone. Physical people may not be there. And when we get sick or something bad happens, that's when you find out who your true friends are, unfortunately. But there's no better friend than Jesus. I'm telling you, there's no better friend. No better friend. Because man will fail you every time. But God never fails. He never fails. He never fails. So I pray that this encourages you. You must keep the faith. As they say, keep your eyes on the prize. And the prize is your salvation. That when we leave this body, this life, that heaven's waiting for us. Stay connected with the Father. And then while you going along your journey, share your journey. Be a blessing to someone. Love on someone. Encourage someone. If you see somebody struggling, be a listening ear. Not with your judgment. With your ears and your heart. Love on someone today. And remember that God loves you. Blessings.